Okay, whoa, hot mess express. So right now we're gonna head over to Holly's. We're gonna have the initial meeting and walkthrough of her space. She's been Pinteresting her heart away at what exactly she wants. She also wants to be hands-on, so this is gonna be a lot of fun since she is a new homeowner and she is looking to demo and reno basically her entire house. I thought what better room to start in than her lovely master suite. So let's just head on over there and see how the day unfolds. I'm gonna bring a bottle of champagne because we weren't able to celebrate 2020 together, so we gotta do that right now. Okay, let's just do the damn thing. We'll be back and then we'll play, I promise. Right when you walk into Holly's room, you can see there's a closet to the left. She is actually going to be taking off the doors to that and emptying the closet out off camera because we are going to be saving that project for another day. Holly will not compromise the size of her bed, and I don't blame her. She's a California king, and it is absolutely incredible. It's like a cloud to sleep on, so we're going to be keeping that, but it is my job to figure out how to make the room still look larger than what it is while keeping the larger bed, obviously. The two things that I always start with and tell you will make the most drastic change are changing up your paint color and your light fixtures. And I actually partnered up with Lutron to upgrade Holly's light system. She already has Lutron in her house, but I wanted to upgrade her to the new Caseta system, and I will be showing you that a little bit later as well. Everything in this room feels very weighted to the floor. It feels like you're pulling down to the floor, and that is because she has that dark, bulky furniture, making everything just kind of just go towards the ground, and I want to lift everything up and make things feel a little bit more spacious. You can legit hear Holly being a boss in the back. She is just on a conference call right now. So while I was working on other room makeovers, Holly asked me if there's anything she can do, and she went above and beyond. She went ahead and cleared out her entire closet. And I will make an in-depth tutorial about how I built out this closet, but basically we're gonna be gutting it to make way for all the clothes from the dresser to go into here, and then to be able to get rid of that dresser completely. There is this awkward hallway with a lot of wall space that I was trying to like twiddle my thumbs, it's not a proper saying, and figure out what I need to do with it. And we're gonna DIY some wall decor for her space that will be customizable for size wise to make sure that it works for us and not against us. Holly already created a Pinterest board after we started discussing that we were really going to tackle this space, and it was on the minimal side, but as we got to talking, she definitely wanted to steer away from the whole boho aspect of things. As I measured out the room, I kept that in mind as I kept sketching in my notebook, and sometimes in my notebook I'll also start to sketch the design of different walls to give me an idea of what decor can go there. That way I can start to kind of gear my head and guide the room to be exactly what the client in this case wants. Hi guys. Oh, hello. 1 second. I genuinely cannot get over that. That's a lot of that's more clothes than I personally own right now. As I mentioned earlier, Holly wanted to be very hands-on, and that is something that was a big goal of mine this year, was instead of doing makeovers and surprising people, is I wanted to kind of teach them what to do and show them that they are more than capable to continue to tackle spaces or just feel inspired to maintain their space. And Holly went above and beyond, you guys. This was so much fun. I actually had a mini weekend getaway with Paul since I haven't seen him since he's been out of town, and while I was out of town, she painted the entire room, ripped up the carpet, took out all of the furniture with her boyfriend, and basically prepped the space for me to come back and just get to work. I break down how to rip out carpet on my playroom makeover, which I think a lot of you guys are familiar with, but I'll link it for you if not. I'm just going around and lifting up all the nails of the concrete, and Holly is going around and scraping off the excess glue to prep the floor the best that we can. Once we spent enough time killing our arms on that, we move forward just taking out the shelving in the existing closet that I'm going to be redoing in a part 2 basically, because I really want to show you how to build out a closet and not rush it. Oh, and you guys got in the way right there, excuse you. To give this room some depth and just some character overall, because I just think painting this small master suite one color won't do it justice, I'm going to be doing an all black shiplap wall by ripping down some 10-inch wide pieces of the thinnest plywood I can find, which is under laminate, and installing that like I did. did on my fireplace makeover, just a larger scale. I learned the hard way last time by doing the shiplap in Allie's bathroom, where I didn't trim out the edges and you can actually see the color behind the wall if it is not matching the wood. So I trimmed that out first, and I moved on to installing the first piece of shiplap, which is 8 feet long, because I'm using like a 4x8 sheet of plywood just ripped down to 10-inch pieces that I got ripped down at Home Depot. So you can do this if you don't have power tools, by the way. Made sure it was level, painted in between the layers, and then I used a piece of the thin underlaminate as its spacing to make sure it was even across the next board that I was installing. For my fail last time, I was using construction adhesive to stick the boards to the wall to make sure it was secure with my nail gun. This time around, I'm just using some rapid fuse dotted around with a little bit of wood glue, which makes life a lot easier. I filled the holes and waited for the filler to dry, went back over, sanded it smooth, and it was about 8 p.m. at this point, so I needed to head home and feed Callie before she got super pissed, and Holly decided to take over and paint the shiplap, film it, and send it to me. I literally cannot with her. I had to take the remaining plywood home and trim it down on my table saw, so I brought it back the next day and wore basically the opposite colorway outfit of the day before, installed those pieces, and then Holly and I moved on to install this light fixture that I actually kept because I was going to use it in my living room makeover, but it was far too small. But this light fixture was so complicated, and then she had a ceiling fan, which meant the black wire was always hot, and I just felt really weird installing it. So I moved on to installing the curtain rods just a little bit higher than they were before to make the room feel a little bit taller. Little tip, if you are installing curtain rods above something that is longer, you might need a middle brace because the rod might start to bend in and cave in, which you do not want. So that's why I have 3 braces there, and I'm using a double rod so I can have sheer or complete blackout drapes as an option for her. Also, this rat tail keeps popping up throughout this entire tutorial, and I can't. After I hang up the rods, I'm not going to be hanging the drapes quite yet since I need all the light I can get. I will be filling the holes from where the rod was hung previously, and you can see what a difference it is. I moved on to hanging up artwork as well, just because I was getting impatient and I needed to see something else on the walls. I look like a mime right here, but I'm basically reminding myself to tell you that when I do her small bathroom makeover, and it is a small bathroom, let me tell you, I'll be implementing and building a sliding door that I will also put in that tutorial as well. So a lot of fun stuff moving forward. At the end of the night, I decided to patch the concrete with a little bit of slurry mix where the nail holes were divoting in a lot. And this is where I need to explain why we're going about doing the floor how we are. Listen to the words coming out of my mouth right now, people. Not everybody has a budget to do everything all at once. So the reason we're moving forward with the flooring as is because there's a weird lip coming out of the room into the tile that already exists into Holly's room, and we aren't sure what's underneath it until we rip it up. And Holly is interested in doing the flooring all at once versus room by room. So that is why we are opting to patch the holes, patch the cracks, and just simply paint it. I also taped out the design like I did when I built out my bar in my house to make sure everything that I had was going to fit and look good. The next day, after that concrete around the edges was done drying, I came back in and patched the cracks with something that was recommended to me from a Home Depot employee. I have linked absolutely everything that I can that I've used throughout this makeover down below for you. While that was drying, I decided to upgrade Holly's current Lutron to a Lutron Caseta and a couple other fun things I'm going to be showing you throughout the rest of the video. I have installed Lutron products before here on my channel, so I'll link that for you. We are actually a Lutron home personally, so it was fun to implement a couple other things that I don't have in our house that I now need. I think forever and always it's going to be opening the package that is the hardest part of installing any type of product, but once you get past that, it is so easy. And the thing I love most is that most smart switches require a neutral wire. However, many homes built before 1980s don't have one, so that creates a barrier for those wanting to begin their smart home journey. Caseta by Lutron dimmers are engineered to work in homes whether they have a neutral wire or not, and I know that might sound like confusing right now, but I swear once you start to tap into electrical a bit, you'll start to learn why this makes your life so much easier. You also don't have to sacrifice style for smart lighting. Caseta by Lutron smart dimmers work with a wide variety of dimmable bulbs, meaning you can still enjoy those vintage style bulbs if that's what you like. I have to show you this for size, for scale. Bubba. Hi. Come here, guys. Oh, get him. He's so gentle. Let me see. Come here. You gonna get him? Oh. Get him. It's basically a requirement at this point. If you want me to redo your house, you have to have a dog or an animal of some sort, preferably a dog. After the sealant that I poured or just patched up the cracks with dried, I went through with a 220 and hand sanded them down the best that I could. The reason I am not going crazy with this flooring is because, number one, the budget is going towards absolutely everything else you're going to see in the finished product, and the flooring is going to be last after we tackle all the other rooms in Holly's house. So please keep that in mind. Do not come at me about polishing it or what have you. This is what we're doing. This is how we're handling it, and it is not your house, it is Holly's house, and that was her decision, and that's what we're doing until I can lay floor and show you how to do it throughout the entire house. Behr Paint makes paint for concrete floors. That is what we purchased at our local Home Depot, and you can actually have them custom color it, or at least in our case, they told us they could. I'm not sure if that happens at every single store, so we just got this charcoal gray that Holly pinned previously in her Pinterest board. I carried that paint throughout the entire room up until that threshold that met the tile that I told you was setting uneven to the room, as to why we are not doing the flooring right now, because we're not sure what's underneath that tile without ripping it up. I'm not about to cause a bigger mess than I already am in this house. After that paint was dry, Holly added a second coat while I was away. She also built the bed frame and put it in the room for me, and I was just completely taken back because I am getting more excited helping people that want to help out in a makeover and learn so they feel more than capable to tackle any other space. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening with Holly here. Because growing up, actually, she would start to tackle a room by herself, or like start to rip up flooring in her bedroom as a kid, and her parents would have to finish it. So I thought it was really funny that that trait was following through to here as well. I added some floating nightstands with brackets that I got from Home Depot, as well as sconces that you can plug directly into the wall and control by a switch on them. A mirror is going to open up the room. I don't need to get a big one. I just put it in this corner, so as she's walking out, she can double check herself to be like, okay, I look great, let's head out. And then a chair that I previously owned already that was in my office that I'm currently making over. I am not going to be taking credit for this next build. I found it on Pinterest. It's super simple. It's basically 3 pieces of wood of the length and depth that you want your console to be. It's going to be a floating TV console. And then there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 different sizes of the depth and the height you would like your console to be. And I attached those with pocket hole screws, some glue, and my nail gun. But I don't want to go into depth because this is basically stealing somebody else's idea, and I've linked it down below for you to give them full credit. Again, for this next one, I have linked down the OG creator for this build and inspiration, but basically I pocket hole screwed some 1x2s together to create a black frame, painted it black all the way around. I'm going to be hanging that up directly onto the wall and then adding a quote-unquote floating shelf in between that frame to just create some more storage for jewelry and just little knickknacks and photo displays. As soon as all my projects and custom DIYs for the space dried, I installed them, like the tabletop to this nightstand, which I wish I would have elongated a little bit more, but I checked in with Holly and she liked the flush look, so don't come at me for that. The floating console, what I did was find a stud, drill it directly into the wall, use my level to make sure obviously it was level to the wall, and then use drywall anchors where there were not studs. As far as the framed DIY I just showed you, I am basically attaching this piece of, I think it's 4 inches in depth by pocket hole screws that are attaching to the black frame in the corners, and then going back in with smaller brackets and painting them white to add extra support for the weight. This is me losing my mind with the electrician because he literally left in the middle of his job and told me he didn't know when he was going to be back. But he had to install this light fixture, which I typically could do by myself, but there was literally 16 wires coming out of the individual light fixture, and I was not about to deal with that. Remember how I said Holly wouldn't compromise the size of her bed? You don't need to. If you switch out the frame of your bed, it can make a world of difference. We opted for something way more minimal, no headboard, because we turned that accent wall into the headboard itself, basically. And then we made something come lower to the floor, skinnier in stature, and it opened up the room so much that we were able to add a bench to the end of the bed if we wanted to. For the decor above the bed, I tried my best to do some calligraphy of inhale, exhale, and then I reverted back to an old DIY that I did for my laundry room makeover and used larger letters to create an inhale, exhale that I didn't have to draw by hand because I was terrible at it. Holly got a piece of 3/4 inch plywood cut down to 20 by 30, I believe the measurements were. I painted one side white and then used some rapid fuse in my speed square to place the letters just accordingly as how I wanted them. You can space them any which way you want. The rapid fuse dries fairly quickly, so you are able to add a frame. I used 1x2s like I used for the frames for the black frames previously, and then added picture frames to the back end and hung them directly above the bed. Picture hooks, not frames. You want to be able to get the hooks that are going to support the weight of the wall decor you are using. A little tip that I use is use tape, as you've seen previously, to gauge the height and the width of what you are hanging to make sure you are going in and nailing exactly where you need to versus just eyeballing and putting a million nails into the wall. You can also level out the tape with a level to make sure that when you're nailing the nails into the wall to hang whatever wall decor you have, that is level, or you can use a laser level, or there's a Ryobi like wall level. There's a bunch of different options. I purchased accent pillows that went with the bedding Holly already owned, and then just added a couple of throws. You may notice a couple of them from my house. I just thought they would look way better in here, and added a bench to the end of the bed, and everything was set to go. She set everything up on the Lutron, which I'm going to walk you through in 3 seconds, and we are now able to step back and see what a transformation. 3 years ago, if you told me I were to be able to produce something like this, I wouldn't have believed you, because that's when I started dabbling in power tools. I wasn't well versed in interior design, and I'm still not well versed in either, but my main goal is to show you in every single tutorial, no matter what it is that I'm just trying. I just keep moving forward, and eventually you'll be able to produce something on this level if you just stay consistent. It doesn't matter how big your progression is, just keep at it. Thank you so much once again to Lutron for sponsoring today's video. It definitely wouldn't have been possible or this cool with the details with the electrical towards the end without you guys. Something that I do have to say is, even if you don't get a caseta system for your house to be able to connect everything together, there is this option. For instance, in my case, I plugged it directly into the wall where the bed is and plugged the sconces into it underneath the bed, and it comes with a remote, and that will control your sconces. So even if you're just looking for some form of control but you don't necessarily need an entire system, this is always great to have because it makes your life way more convenient. You can also get a tabletop pedestal if you want to move it around. You can stick the remote to wherever you want to adhere it to, but you can also get a wall plate and hang it up next to your other switches if that's your jam. Holly loves her Alexa, and I was really pumped that Caseta integrates seamlessly into that, as well as a Google Assistant and Apple HomeKit to give you hands-free control of your lighting, so you can get the lights or set the scene with just your voice. And I will hear Holly just shouting sometimes, and I think she's talking to me, but she's literally just controlling the electrical in her new room.
Alexa, turn on sleepy time. Okay. And everything goes off. Alexa, turn on sleepy time. Okay.
I hope that you guys enjoyed this bedroom makeover. I know that I did, and I loved having a partner in crime the entire time. It just helped me along the way. She also kept me well fed, hydrated, and just thoroughly entertained. So I think my requirements moving forward are people that want to help with makeovers, and you also have to have a dog and want to upgrade your light system in your house too, because it's got to be out with the old and in with the new people. I will see you soon for another DIY.